Hello and welcome to Foundry Files, episode 46. I'm Admiral Murphy. So there's a little bit of news this week that we'll get into, and then an important message I've got to hit. As you notice, Wee Wee isn't here. We'll get into that after the news. I want to talk about the news first, because this is going to be a big change up for the show. In fact, game breaking. And I do mean game breaking, which we'll get into that. I'm separating that to community feedback. We'll get into that later. But first I do want to cover the news, because there's been a lot of news this week, and I do want to hit that before we get into the big show news. So why don't we roll into the news segment? Alright, so a lot's been going on with the Stowe Foundry recently. Mission Republish is almost complete. In fact, I'd say almost all the missions are republished and I believe working functionally. There's been a few missions that are still having a few issues from what I've heard over Twitter and stuff. A few people are still having reach marker issues, but otherwise, a good deal of the missions are republished. At this time, I do not believe Foundry editing is back up, nor is the review process, so hopefully that will be coming soon before Thanksgiving break starts, because usually that's when people tend to play video games just a bit more over those breaks. So hopefully that is coming soon. Another art asset list. That's the next bit of news. So Stoked Radio recently did a interview with Al Rivera, also known as Captain Gecko, and they asked one Foundry question, which was about updates for the Foundry, and it did include when is new art assets getting added? And I was not a fan of the answer. I'll be right out and honest. I actually think it was the worst answer possibly ever given on planet Earth, which made me extremely not happy as both a Foundry author, player, and fan. And the answer was basically, when it came to new art assets, we were to make another list. Now, I think every Foundry author who has been out there forever, at least from the beginning, knows that we have made lists. In fact, we have made many lists, as Cryptic has asked for these lists overall to say what's not in the Foundry, so we can go put it in there. And we've made these lists. In fact, there is a Stowe forum thread, Stickied, which is art assets that are not in the Stowe Foundry. Now, don't worry, they know we've made lists in the past, so I'm not complaining there. They just want a little bit of a change up to our list. Instead, now they want 5 to 10 art assets for their list to add into the Foundry. 5 to 10. I don't know about you, but that's pitiful. I don't like that one bit. And if you think about it, there are things missing in the Stowe Foundry that have been in this game forever. My big pet peeve has been the Jupiter jacket. That hasn't been in the Foundry, and that uniform has been out how long? And how long has it been since we got a new uniform? And there's been other stuff too. There's tons of art assets that aren't in the Foundry that honestly have been in the game since launch, but just weren't given to us. And yet now we're asked to narrow all of this massive stuff we could use down to 5 to 10. Now, I'm giving a big congrats here. There's, I believe, a new Foundry author who did actually go and set up a poll. So the majority of people who vote in the poll, the majority answer will be there. So that's nice. But the problem is there is so much missing in the Stowe Foundry when it comes to art assets, because Cryptic has lacked updating the Foundry within that category for so long. So long. And it's, honestly, it hurts. Like, as a Foundry author, that hurts morale just to hear that. When I heard that news, I was just like, why? Because there is so much missing. The thing with a UGC editor, and I've spent a lot of time, I have a whole bunch of games in the cabinet here with tons of like build your own games, tycoon games. And the thing that makes some greater than others is the customization. The ones that are better, you have a lot more control over what you can do. I was a huge Warcraft 3 player, and they have their own map editor. It is basically the dev tool copied. And that was fun. You given every art asset in that game, so your creativity is endless. Nothing's preventing you from doing what you want as long as you know how to do it. Now, the nice thing about the Foundries is it is simple to use, but because of that, there are so many limitations on the art assets. And I hate to hear that we're only going to get 5 to 10 new ones in this list, especially given the track record Cryptic has already set up with limited art assets being added into the game. And I think what's really hurt them here has been they haven't done these updates in a while. They haven't checked the box for art assets over a year. In over a year, there's been very little added. There's been EPOs. I don't even know if there's been costumes really added. A few ships. That's it. There hasn't been a big push. And I think that's what's really hurt the Foundry and their ability to add stuff in, because they've let their list pile up so much that it's pretty much unmanageable to them. And I get it, why they can't add everything we want, because they've let it pile up. And that's the problem. Now, I'm happy to say at least Tumor Boy was talking over Twitter about this and helping us understand what the process is, because to me, I thought it was just click a checkbox and you're good to go. It's in the Foundry. There's a little more to it than that. So the way it works is it's done in batches from what I understand. They don't just do one art asset, because it takes a whole day to do this, between writing the code, putting it in the Foundry, text stuff, bunch of other stuff. It's techno-babbly. We know Pablo's in my computer. He does all the magic. I don't understand that. But that's why it just doesn't instantly happen. It takes a whole day of work that they could spend on something else. And of course we know the Foundry isn't huge. But again, it's not going to be huge unless work's put into it to make it great. Same as PvP and crafting. Those have been void of any effort put into them for a while now. So I'm not happy with the art asset thing. That was kind of news, like, it was great to get tagging finally. And then that news dropped with the art asset thing. It's like, oh, we're back to square one. So that was... speaking of tagging, I want to hit that real quick before we move into the next segment. Tagging, I think, while a great thing that was added in, I think I've thought of a major flaw here, and I wish I had a co-host on it. I tried to get a guest one on for this week, but that didn't work out. But I think the major flaw with tagging right now that's going to ruin it is its player base wise. Now, at first, I was questioning, is this going to work? Is players going to abuse it? I don't think that's going to be a problem, a huge problem. As big as the problem is people actually tagging the missions. Now, it's great. It's done by players, so an author's not going to falsely label it, and I think a player's going to be a little more honest with it, especially when you get a lot of players tagging things. You actually get how many people say it's this type of mission, and how many say it's this, which is great. The problem is, until this search is fixed, which it still isn't with tagging, you're not going to be able to find these missions. For example, I have a good deal of missions out. None of them are on that 50-so mission list that you get when you first pop open the list, unless you search for something that's in my title or in the description. So the problem is it's not easy to find my missions, and it's not easy to find a good majority of the community's missions. Meaning, if they can't find the mission, how are they going to play it and tag it? I mean, I've gotten probably at max 4 plays on each of my missions since early June. 4, that's it. And I know they're not new missions or anything, but still, you'd expect that more people are always coming to the game, more would play. And 4 is not very good. In fact, there's a lot of missions too that I've heard authors reporting, yeah, they're not getting many plays. And that means, how are they going to get tagged? At that point, it kind of makes tagging pointless if your missions aren't going to get tagged. So that's the major flaw I see in it, that I can't put a tag on it and then have also a community tag. Unless the Foundry search gets fixed where it's easy to find my mission, which right now it's not. Unless there was a next button. If you could click a next button, you'd be good to go. And you could find missions easily and tag them. But the weird thing is, you need the tags to make the search better. But the way missions are set up, it's just like this endless loop of how is the search gonna be fixed? So that's the flaw I see in tagging there. So that's kind of the news for this week. It's kind of a bummer news. So sorry, I'm not very happy with the news. I'm sure somebody's out there is happy, but I don't know. That was just my feeling. So let's move into community feedback, because I do have some important news for the show to cover. Alright, so as you noticed, Wee Wee was not here on this episode, and there is a very good reason for that. He has gotten really busy with schoolwork and university work, which is very important. Of course, that's the primary thing he should be focused on. And because of that, he can no longer do the show anymore, at least for the time being. He said maybe in the future, if the work clears up, he could come back, but right now he doesn't see that happening. So that does create a problem of the show is now without a co-host. So where does that leave the show? The thing is, I don't know anybody who I could get to take his place for the time being, or permanently, because he said it could be permanent. He doesn't know yet. And the only people I know who could be a great co-host on the show already do their own show. So I'm not going to go and ask them, hey, come to my show. No, that's stupid. So that leaves the problem of there's 2 ways to go. And as of right now, I'm going one of the directions. The show stops. That's the way I'm looking at it. Because I think Foundry Files, the key to the format was that the show really worked best because it had the co-host aspect. I think most podcasts generally work best when there's two people because you can bounce back and forth. One person is, I honestly feel it's boring to do, and I hate doing it alone. I mean, I just did the news and I felt, ugh, whatever. And three people, good. I think that can work too, but anything more than that, I just feels kind of a clutter mess and stuff like that. Sometimes it can work. I've seen it work, but I don't feel it's as good as the two-host format, which is why a lot of the news does it this way. So yeah, that does leave me in a tough spot because I don't like doing the show on my own. It's not as enjoyable for me, and I don't feel like the audience wants to hear me talk by myself for 40 minutes for either news or a review. So that's why, as of right now, the show is on a hiatus. I don't know if it's coming back, when it's coming back, or if it is even coming back. Now, that doesn't mean this is a permanent off the air, as I said. That's why this is an confused feedback segment. I'm asking the audience there, do you really want to hear me talk by myself for an hour? My answer is no. I don't think you do. If I'm wrong in that aspect, you can go ahead and send an email to foundryfiles@gmail.com and say, no, we're fine with it. Keep the show going. But I don't find that's the case. Or if you're somebody out there who goes, hey, I'd be up for co-hosting, count me in, you can send me an email there or contact me. I mean, I'm open to it. I don't know anybody, but might as well try to throw it out there and see if anybody would be interested in taking up the reins for a bit or permanently. Don't know yet. But I did want to treat this as the last episode, possibly, because it very well is the possibility that this is the last episode of Foundry Files. And I hate it when I watch a show and they just go off the air and they get canceled. Stargate Universe and Flash Forward and Enterprise. I guess they had a wrap up, but it was kind of crappy. I'm hoping this isn't a crappy ending. But yeah.
But wait, Murphy! Past me. You cannot give up on the Stove Foundry. Bobo's been defeated finally. And there's still so many great missions out there yet to be discovered because of the terrible search. You can't give up.
Future Murphy, what's the point of continuing the fight? I mean, Bobo's back up right now.
No, it isn't. I fixed it. Bobo's not published anymore.
Yes, it is.
What are you talking? Oh, screw this shit.
I hate that guy. He's a douche. But yeah, send your email, foundryfiles@gmail.com. Let us know. Leave something in the comments. I do want to say, though, to the audience, this is why I did want to pump an episode out. One, to cover the news, and two, just to let the audience know. Thank you if this is the last episode. It's been a blast. I wouldn't have done this show for as long as I did if I wasn't a huge Foundry fan and if I didn't have the audience support that I did. Thank you to anybody who has helped up on the show. We did a great job. All the other people who've helped the show out from time to time, thank you. Shout out to Lee Andrew. He's the one who's made all these bumps and stuff for that. I'm giving him a big shout out. Without that, the show would look kind of crappy, so I'm giving him a thumbs up there. He's also been a big help on technical stuff in the background whenever I've needed it, so thank you there. I don't know if he doesn't get enough credit, and I feel he really does deserve a lot of credit for this. So, big shout out there. Yeah, I mean, this show has been a big part of my life for over 2 years now. I started it on Stoked with a bunch of people, and it was fun to do. And honestly, I do kind of hate to say that it's ending because, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to say giving up on the Foundry, but it's not in a very good state where I really do want to do it on my own, especially if I don't feel like I can do a good enough job as we did before. So that's just kind of where I'm at. Hopefully the Foundry does get in a better state, because as of right now, I've just seen it get not worse and worse, but honestly, I was really hoping this could be a great thing in the Stowe game. But ever since Season 4, it's kind of been in this state. There's hope of seeing it improve, I will say that. But it's kind of just in the state where it's like, eh. And still, the community is great. A lot of people are still doing great missions out there if they get discovered. We've played some great ones that have been made recently. The Purity series is just another example that the Foundry isn't dead. It's in a rough place, but it isn't dead, and there are people who haven't given up on it. So, if this is though the last episode, go ahead, there are still other Foundry podcasts. Huge shout out to Foundry Roundtable. I think they're doing a very great job doing their own thing. It's definitely a more heavy discussion Foundry show. It's quite different from Foundry Files if you're not listening to it already. But if you're still a fan of the Foundry and still want to get news, I'd say go there if this one doesn't come back. But anyway, I don't want to leave on a sour note again. So I do want to say thank you for all the people who have shown their support, because without the Foundry and all this great stuff, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I had no idea where I'd be career-wise or college-wise. I honestly, at the time before, I saw no future for me. So that you can kind of read into the mindset I was in at the time. But because of the great support of fans out there, even when I was just a Foundry author making individual missions, not thinking they would go anywhere, I got a lot of great support from people out there in the audience, Foundry players, other podcasters I've worked with. They've been a great support for getting me on track to where I think I might be heading in the future. Where that is, I don't know. And where this show's heading in the future, I don't know. I can only guess. But I do know somebody who does know where the future is heading, and that is Future Murphy. And I feel there's no better way to close this show off if it is ending with a awesome Future Murphy skit that hopefully... I think one of the awesome things about Foundry Files was the humor of the show. That was my favorite part. So why not end on an awesome joke of the week skit, the latest adventure of Future Murphy. So I do want to say thank you everybody for watching. And if this is goodbye, and I'll see you out there.
Warning, no trouble. Console clicking detected. Repeat, console clicking detected. Abandoned ship! Abandoned ship! We're in the children first! Everything run!
Ah, hell no! Who are you?
I am Supreme Grand Admiral Tuvix.
And you're the one who created the console clicky mission? Those died out years ago.
That wasn't my true plan. It was all to lure you here so you wouldn't be able to stop me with my real plan.
And that would be...
To free all the dolphins!
That has nothing to do with the Foundry.
Nah, I'm just breaking the EULA. What?! Yeah, I'm gonna put canon characters in all of my Foundry missions. And like you couldn't stop Bobo, now you can't stop me! Yeah, and first I'm gonna put Ezri Dex in my Foundry mission. No! Jetsy is clearly a better character! Yeah, and I know all about your true fetish. How could you know about that? From this!
Nikki, I have a question for you. Could you,
No.
Oh.
Then I shall make Jurassic Park in the Foundry, starring Will Ferrell, George Takei, and Robin Williams. Now there's nothing you can do about it, Nico from ITPA.
Shit!
Captain's log, start date 2/27. I am working on my new Foundry file. Mission that will be So cool.
Agent Nico Murphy here, requesting immediate backup.
Headquarters here. Report.
I think I've located the temporal hard drive he's been using to time travel.
The Bobo guy?
No, it's somebody else.
So you need our help?
Yes, I need a way to take it down. Do you have anything that could be used to reset the temporal hard drive?
All right. We've got something for you here. We're disguising it to fit in with the rest of the timeline. Just slap this on the temporal hard drive, and it should reset the timeline.
Roger, Agent Nico out.
And I was like, Spock, not in your temporal time zone. No, oh, my cruiser's better than yours. Stop! What are you doing?
Well, you know, this is your temporal hard drive there, right? This is what you use to time travel. And this is what you're going to use to make your little Foundry missions. Because, as we all know, Foundry does not exist in this timeline. You can't change anything, though. If I just happen to reset everything... What the hell?
Dude, I'll let you finish, but you're doing it all wrong, okay?
Oh,
First, you gotta flick this switch
okay.
a couple times, so
Yep.
5 times there.
Oh, alright.
And then,
This is a pretty primitive contraption you got here for time travel. I haven't seen one of these since like 212 years old.
I just Googled it.
Oh.
So you just,
Should use Bing.
gotta say, you press this button right here.
Okay.
You hold it in for like 10 seconds.
You have to hold it in for 10. This is really old, you know. You could get something better.
Even better for fooling people.
Oh, yeah.
Good
I
security
guess it is,
system.
yeah.
And you hold it in. It's been 10 seconds. A little longer. So, you come here often?
I still got it.